All right, so SummerSlam just happened, and I'm gonna give you my outright grades for each match. But let me just give you the fucking grade for this because this was a great pay-per-view. This is a good show, a PLE. All right, but this is a great show, top to bottom, elite stuff. You don't always get this from professional wrestling. You don't always get, and especially for the WWE. AEW for me usually hits way more when it comes to pay-per-views. Honestly, I feel like they're way bigger when AEW does them. I feel like I tend to care more, but this was a great pay-per-view. PLE, whatever. I'm gonna call it pay-per-view. I don't fucking care. All right, let me give you the grade. The grade's an A minus, B plus. I'm between those two grades. And let me just give you, we're going to go through each match in order. So Liv versus Rhea, A minus versus. I'll give it an A minus or B plus. And look, this was great. This is great. It had everything you needed. Okay, Rhea looked way more dominant. Rhea's definitely more in line to win the match. Rhea popping her shoulder back in. That was kind of a cool, savage moment. And then finally the ending. It had to have a conundrum ending, the interference ending, ultimately. It couldn't have ended with Rhea just losing cleanly. That would have made no fucking sense and would have made her look weak. And not only that, Liv played her role right, all right? She's a much better heel, okay? Liv as a babyface would get squashed, all right? But as a heel, she can be a chicken shit like she was in this match. She can run around and do all her stupid bullshit and play the games of a heel and do the gimmicky crap, and it works so much better. And the way she won was relatively convincing, honestly. It wasn't a bad way she won. It wasn't too cheap, but it was cheap enough. And then the ending with Dominic making out with her and picking her in the end was just about perfect. So this match, B plus to A minus. It wasn't a straight A, but definitely almost as good as it gets. Braun versus Sammy, I should say. This for me was a B or B plus, and it did its job. All right, Sammy loses, he should lose to Braun. Braun gets his crowning moment. The only problem might have been that it was only like a 5-minute match, but that's not a bad thing. Like, I don't know why people complain about this shit. In a fight, sometimes fights end quickly. Not all fights go on for eternity. Not all fights are 20 minutes long. Not all fights are supposed to be 30-minute bangers, all right? Sometimes a fight only goes on for 5 or 10 minutes, or less than 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's it. It doesn't have to be this big spiel. So I like this match. I thought it made Braun look dominant. It made Braun look like a dominant wrestler, and that's really all he needed to do. And he won convincingly. He speared him, I think, twice to win the match. It did its job. And again, the only probably cutoff is like it was 5 minutes, a little bit short maybe, but it did its job, B or B plus. Logan versus LA Knight. I don't know what it was, but this match, and there's another match later down the card, but this match for some reason kind of bored me, but I give it a B anyways. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't a really interesting match, and I kind of knew it was going to happen. LA Knight was going to get the crowning moment, maybe that's why I didn't like it. It was a little bit too predictable. LA Knight was going to get his crowning moment, and I just can't stand all like the Logan interference crap because I don't care about his fucking posse, man. I wish Logan would use either like WWE people or people I give a fuck about, because it's just like I don't care about MGK. I don't care about the goons. Those little tiny posse goons that surround him. I don't even know who the fuck they are. So I don't know. But the match was cool, and I love the finish, the BFT and the ending for LA Knight. And he finally gets a crowning moment. He fucking deserves it. So we'll take it, B or B plus. Nia versus Bayley. This match fucking surprised me. This was a good match. I gave it an A minus. And really maybe it's just for like the ending, but I went fucking ballistic. All right, for starters, Nia won relatively convincingly, even though Tiffany interfered and all that bullshit. Tiffany had to be there, okay? That's why. All right, Nia was going to win regardless. Tiffany just needed to be shown and presented to the crowd. And that was what was done. Nia doing the whole belt thing, the Aaron Rodgers belt thing, where she you take your arms and you pretend like you got the fake belt on you, and then gives her that last, I forgot what her final move, I forgot her finisher is called, where she goes off the top rope and sits on the bitch. All right, that was awesome. That was fucking awesome. Okay, that was so fucking awesome. Her facial expressions were awesome. She looked like a dominant ass bitch. And not only that for Nia, but crowning moment. Much deserved crowning moment. And she's a better champion than Bayley already, man. Bayley was so fucking boring. I don't care. No one cared about Bayley. No one cared about Bayley's goddamn what she was doing, any of her feuds, any of what was going on during her title reign. Nia, we get to finally see her on the title. A heel champion on the title is good, man. It's much better sometimes. And Bayley can chase, or Bayley can do whatever, but we don't need Bayley anymore on the title. It was a waste of time for too long. And now Nia gets it, and we get to do the whole Nia Tiffany Stratton thing, but Nia looked like a beast, man. She looked like a fucking beast during this match. So give Nia her goddamn flowers, man. Next was Punk and Drew. I gave this one A minus. I know people were like, oh, it wasn't violent enough. Punk said it was going to be so violent, all this bullshit. All right, look, it did its job. It did its job. There was a lot of storytelling elements. This is going to be a 3-match trilogy, whatever. I think that's kind of the same thing, but 3 matches between Drew and Punk anyways. It did its job, and Seth Rollins did his job. Seth Rollins, he played his role to a teeth. He was excellent for this match. The match kind of became about Seth too much, but he played his role to a teeth. It was violent enough. It was brutal enough. It wasn't overly brutal, but it was brutal enough. And Punk looked fine. This match, this was a good convincing first match. Punk could have won the match multiple times. Drew could have won the match multiple times before he ultimately pinned Punk. It did its job. And I'll say this too, there could have been a situation where Punk looked like a little bitch compared to Drew McIntyre, all right? I'm just saying. Drew was way bigger than Punk. Punk could have looked like a little tiny bitch. He could have looked so unconvincing. He didn't. He actually looked like he sort of belonged in that match with a guy who's significantly bigger than him. So I thought it did the job. But ultimately what did it for me in this match was that conversation between Punk and Drew. That was nuts. Like, not Punk and Drew, Punk and Seth. And Seth saying, you know, we don't need you here. We don't need you a part of the company. And we don't need to have you here. And how not everything's about you. And then Punk goes, yeah, but nothing's about you. Or whatever he said. He said, yeah, but it's never about you ultimately. And it might not be about me, but it's never about you. Something like that. And I just thought that shit was crazy. Like, that conversation, it was real. That was real. They don't like each other in real life. That felt as real as it gets. Dame versus Gunther, this was my favorite match on the card. It made Damian Priest finally look like the super beast he is, alright? He looked like a fucking beast, especially as a babyface, man. He should have won the match. Finally, Finn Balor turns on him. Finally, it was about goddamn time, though. The Judgment Day split happens, and it was a good match, man. I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's as good as it gets, you know. Two guys chopping each other to death, two big-ass dudes beating the fuck out of each other for whatever amount of minutes it was, and it did its job. And again, Dame looked convincing. Dame would have won the match. Dame was set to win the match, and I think that was like the part that really stands out. And not only that, but it finally gets him over officially as a babyface. He's officially over. The reaction on Raw later on last night, he's officially over. He's over as it gets right now. So for Damian Priest, even though he's losing this match, even though he loses the match, even though he loses the title, he's not gonna get the title back for a long time at least. It made him look like a convincing babyface, and that's what matters the most. And Gunther finally gets his crowning moment too. We'll get him, you know, on this. The only problem with it, I guess, is Gunther's gonna be in the championship for bare minimum 6 months, probably 8 months, if not 12 months. So maybe that's my only qualm, is I'm gonna get kind of sick of Gunther being on the title, but this did its job. Both guys get over in their ways they needed to. As a heel, as a champion for Gunther, and for Dame Priest as a mega babyface now. And then the worst match on the card was, undeniably the worst match, was Cody versus Solo. Oh my god. The geriatrics involved in this match are crazy. I give it a B or B minus only because Roman made his big return, and his return was fucking epic, and the pop he got was fucking epic. I loved it. So I'm not even going to complain about that. That was perfect. Jacob Fatu did his thing too. And he's sold, I think he's not actually injured. I think he was just selling an injury, so he sold the fuck out of his injury. We avoided the Jacob Fatu Roman interaction, which is very important too. But just put it out there, man. Like, this was not good. Solo's not good. And I've been saying that for a long fucking time, but Solo's just not good. He doesn't look convincing. Before the match, they tried to prop him up as 6'2", and they tried to prop him up, and Cody's 6'2". Like, that's just lunatics. Like, lunacy right there, sorry. That's lunacy. So we were supposed to believe Solo's, like, on the level of Cody. They were trying to get Solo on the level of Cody. Like, get out of here. Solo's a little chode midget. A little chubby chode midget. You know, they tried doing that BS with us. But, yeah, Solo is pretty generic, man. Pretty generic Samoan match. You know, it's just not interesting. Jacob Fatu makes a way better competitor for Cody, ironically enough, and a way more compelling competitor, honestly. But, yeah, Solo's not, he doesn't really deliver great matches, but it's the geriatrics involved. It's just like, how many interferences, man? There was a lot of interferences all over this card, and that's kind of what negates a little bit of this card, and why I gave it a B+, A-, but it's like, but they made sense. But this match, it's like, they made sense too for the story, you know, supposedly, but it's like, way too many fucking interferences. Way too many geriatrics everywhere. I'm just like, goddamn, man, how many fucking interferences? Tama Tonga Loa, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Arn Anderson before the match, we saw him. All these fucking elements. And it's like, Jacob Fatu later, Roman Reigns later. It's like, holy shit, Cody should just beat the fuck out of Solo. I'm sorry. He should just beat Solo. Low-key, I get the point. I get why they're doing all the geriatrics, but it's like, he could have just beaten the crap out of Solo. No one takes him seriously anyways. But yeah, either way, that's whatever. It's, you know, that's my final grade. B+, A-. It's good. It's fine. This was a nice little show. And hopefully they keep up the momentum.